Hello, all. We're continuing with our weekly portion review, and this week we are continuing with the new book, the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, and its first portion is also called Vayikra, which in Hebrew means "and he called." And this book and the portion specifically are focusing on the sacrifices, the whole ritual of sacrifices, specifically around the tabernacle, of course. A lot of focus on Aaron and his sons, and all the different ways to go about performing a sacrifice. Today, I want to focus a little on this idea of the unblemished sacrifice. And we learn in this portion that it's really forbidden to slaughter or sprinkle blood or offer to the altar any animal that has a blemish. And even if it's a temporary blemish, or even if that animal belongs to a non-Jew, to a Gentile. Now, the idea of sacrifice is really the sacrifice of the human being, right? We see in Leviticus 1, 2, right, that the verse really explicitly mentions when a man brings an offering to the Lord from among you, right? The meaning of this phrase is that the basic desire of the one bringing the offering is that a human be brought from among mankind, right? That's what we want to give up from ourselves. Now, the Torah despises actual human sacrifice, right? We know this from the binding of Isaac, of course. That's demonstrated very clearly. But it certainly praises the inner intuition of a person to return to the source and to come ultimately closer to God. Now, in this sense, the sacrifice really reenacts the act of the Akedah, right, of the binding of Isaac. Now, the person intends to offer himself, but in practice, an animal is offered, and this is to represent the animalistic part of the human soul, right? From the cattle or from the herd or from the flock, you shall bring an offering. Now, based on this, we understand that the biological state of the animal really reflects the spiritual state of the person bringing it. And just like I can't approach God with a blemished soul, so I can't bring a blemished animal. Now, the act of slaughtering itself is signifying the giving of the soul to God, right? This has to be done without the intent to conceal the blemishes, right? It's a wholehearted act. The sprinkling of the blood, right? This is an emotional act. This is similar to prayer, which we talk about in Lamentations, that we pour out our heart like water right before God. This has to be a very pure in intent. And we also have, of course, the burning on the altar itself, which is signifying the channeling of all life's energies for the sake of heaven, right? Into orienting into one goal. And naturally, this has to be free of any ulterior motives. Now, we might think that a temporary blemish, right, meaning a bad trait that hasn't actually taken deep root in our soul yet, wouldn't invalidate the offering. Because ultimately, we're talking about the innermost self of the person that meets God. So, like, even if there's a blemish on the surface level, why would that be a veil in connecting me to God, or a partition? But really, when the warning not to bring the temporary blemish offering is teaching us, is that when there's an unrefined trait that's brought into the realm of holiness, many times they can be magnified in a way that is almost like nearly impossible to uproot. And that's why the reason, but even the animal itself is unfit to the altar if it has a blemish on it. Now, we could still suppose that the blemishes of the offerings brought by non-Jews shouldn't invalidate them, right? Because only a missing limb from an animal is prohibited by the Noahide law, right? That would be the only issue. And you could potentially mistakenly think that disqualifying these blemishes from Israel stems from our higher spiritual status of the Jewish people. Now, what's interesting is here that the halakha, right, really teaches us a crucial principle here, that the Gentile brings an offering to the Israeli temple. He needs to do it according to the laws of Israel. And Maimonides, in Laws of Kings, in chapter 10, he talks about there how a Noahide who wishes to perform one of the other commandments of the Torah, right, besides the 7 Noahide laws, and he's doing it in order to receive a reward, we don't prevent him from doing so. and we provide him the way to make sure that he's doing it properly if he wants to do it. And then he brings a burnt offering and we accept it. And this is really letting us know that the Torah at its root is universal, and it offers a path of holiness to all the people who desire them. But all the people that want to do it and do it properly through the proper channels need to make sure that they are doing so wholeheartedly with no blemish. I wish us all a week, a period of clarity where we could cleanse ourselves, where we could unify different parts of ourselves, and through proper faith, get closer to God. Shabbat Shalom.